Hey guys, it's Ron here, and welcome to video number 3 in our video series on the seven top ways that home building is really broken today from a buyer's standpoint. And if you've been following along with these videos, which you should, and you follow along for the 7 videos, you're going to learn a lot of information about how you can begin to position yourself and take advantage of this great opportunity that's going on in the real estate market right now for realtors. So I've got a lot of notes, and I want to get to them. If I look down at all, it's just because I want to catch up and make sure that I'm covering everything with you guys. But welcome to the video number 3. And if you're a realtor today, you absolutely want to pay real close attention to this. I would highly recommend stop the video. If you don't have a pen and a paper, if you don't have a notepad, grab one, take some notes, because it's going to change the way you think about and the way you work with and approach the whole new construction space. I'm going to throw a lot of numbers and good information at you that hopefully will take you to a next level with your career in growing a niche market for residential new construction. So let's get started. So number one, just to review real quickly, the number one reason, if you saw those videos, if you haven't, they're on my page or there's someplace out on the web. The number one reason why home building is broken for buyers is, number one, they can't find the neighborhoods. And we talked about how half of the new home neighborhoods are not listed. They're not findable. They're very difficult to find. But number two, the reason is for home buyers, they can't generally find most of the builders. So about 70% or more of new home builders, whether they're small or mid-sized builders, really don't have a strong web presence. And as we know from NAR and Google and others, they're saying now that 100% of buyers, home buyers, go to the web early in their buyer journey. And that's whether it's a pre-owned home, a used home, or a new construction home. Pretty much everybody goes to the web to do their research or to begin their research early in their buyer journey. But when it comes to new, you can't find the neighborhoods and you can't find the builders. And buyers, one of the things that we know about new construction buyers is they are, by their very nature, they want to know their options. Hey, that's why they're building. They tend to be a little bit more affluent. They've got a little bit more money than others. They're more educated and they want to know their options, and that's why they're building. So that's number one. Number two. Now, number three, this is where it gets really interesting, guys. And if I get a little passionate about it, it's just because I love you all, and and I want to see you excel in your career. But number three, home buyers cannot find the realtors who actually specialize in new construction. Go figure, right? I mean, wow, how hard can it be to find a realtor? Everybody up and down the street, my neighbors, my cousin, my brother-in-law, there's so many realtors in the market. But when it comes to new construction, there's not that many. And if you stay till the end of the video, I'm going to tell you what our estimate is on how many we think that there actually are, and how you can begin to step into that role. So they can't find the realtors. What's interesting, though, is if you go to any brokerage website, pretty much, and I'm not going to name names, but, you go to any brokerage website and you'll see that, looks like every realtor is a new construction specialist, because they could tag their name with it, or nearly all of them, but maybe not so much, because there's probably more to being a new construction specialist than just tagging your name with it, obviously. So interesting. So how do the numbers break out? Well, first of all, let's look at a big number. Okay, let's look at a high level number. And these are not my numbers, by the way. I haven't tracked every new home transaction in the United States, but I will tell you this: we dive deep into the data every day, every week, every year. And so, we're really looking at who are their sources and what are they saying about it. And what they say about new construction is that, and here's a good thing to write down, 79% of all new construction transactions there's a realtor involved. 79%. So across the United States, of all the people that build or buy a new home, 79% have a realtor that's involved. Okay, so let's round that up to 80% because that's easier for me to remember. That's basically 4 out of 5. So 4 out of 5 transactions, there is a realtor involved. So you'd say, well, Ron, how can you say that realtors aren't specializing in new construction if 4 out of 5 transactions, there's a realtor involved? Well, here's where it gets interesting, because we have dove down into the details of who's doing the new construction transactions in a lot of markets. We haven't done every market yet. Eventually we probably will, but of every one that we look at, where we look at the data over a year or years of all the new homes, new construction homes that were built and sold, and what it looks like is this. Let's just pick a market. Let's say Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, Tampa, or many others that we've looked at. And we'll look at all the transactions, all the new construction transactions that occurred, and we put them in a spreadsheet. And let's say there was 3,000 in a given market. And I'm not, that's not an actual number for a market, probably is. But, if you look at, you say there's 3,000 new homes that were sold in XYZ market, what it always comes down to, if you look at who's doing the sales, is kind of like this. You got a very small handful, 3 or 4 or 5, maybe 8 realtors or teams who are just cleaning up. I mean, they're doing a ton of new construction. And all the other of the 3,000, one realtor did one, this realtor did one, oh, this one did 2, this one did 1, this one did the 1, 3. And that's kind of how it breaks out. You got a very small number who have figured this out, and they realize that there's a great opportunity that is untapped, really, by most realtors, and they're figuring out how to go after it. And one of the things that we've seen is you can too, okay? And I'm going to talk to you about that in just a minute. But, so pretty interesting, right? That there's a lot of new construction opportunity, but there's very few realtors who are really truly going after it. So that's kind of how that breaks out at a high level. But then here's another interesting thing. If you go and survey the builders, and I really recommend that you do this, and I'll talk to you about this just a little bit more in a minute here, because there's a very specific way you can do this, very simple, but I suggest you do. And when you ask the builders, and one of the things you want to ask them is, hey, John, hey, Jill, hey, Joe, how many realtors would you say in our market actually specialize in, are knowledgeable and passionate about new construction, about new home building? And then shut up. Don't say anything else. Next guy who speaks loses. Just listen. And if anything, take a few notes, okay? How many realtors would you say in our market actually specialize in, or knowledgeable and passionate about new home building? And watch what they say, okay? Because you could be in a market where there's 1,000, where there's 8,000, where there's 15,000, and the answer is usually some variation of, and maybe it's like this, and once in a while, I think I had one say, I could count them on, on my hands and my toes. That's pretty shocking from their perception. Now we can say, well, they don't know. They're just the builders, they don't know. But you know what? They probably do. Perception is everything when it comes to working with customers and potential customers and prospects. Now, from their perspective, they're looking at realtors and saying, there's not very many of us who are really going after new construction, learning it, and bringing value to it. Now, if I were in your shoes, and I'm not, but I really recommend that you take this stuff to heart that I'm sharing with you, because nobody else is really sharing it that I know of. And it is an enormous, enormous opportunity if you grab a hold of it, okay? You know, when we're in these markets where every market these days is just saturated. There's so many licensees. They're cranking them out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I think. NAR says there's 2 million agents and realtors now in the United States, and the number's going up, you know, and everybody's, you know, kind of, you know, fighting over the scraps that fall off the table, you know, for a transaction and a commission. And in the next room over, there's a feast that's sitting there and nobody's at the table. So think about that, because there's a very big opportunity. Now, you know, if we shift away from the builders for a second, let's talk about the buyers. You know, you can go have that same conversation with the buyers and ask buyers about their experience with realtors and new construction. And what buyers will say is things like, you know, we've never actually had a realtor who's offered to walk us through new construction. In fact, a lot of buyers, and we've surveyed many, many buyers on this, and buyers will say things like, you know, realtors tend to discourage us from building new. That's just phenomenal to me, that realtors would tell, but you know, and it's wrong. You know, if we're doing something, if they want to build, and any realtor would say, well, you know, I'm not going to get my commission check as early that way. Let's just go do one of these. You know, if that's what they want, then they deserve to have what they want. And so probably the best thing we can do if we don't want to deal with new construction is refer them out, find a realtor that you can partner with, and refer them out to somebody who's going to take care of them from a new construction standpoint. However, you can do it, okay? And, you know, so those are the kind of things that we hear from buyers. So, you know, perception is everything. Now, so if we're really to ballpark it out, you know, what we find when we start to drill down into the numbers of what the buyers are saying, what the builders are saying, what the numbers are saying, you know, when we look at the transactions, it is probably less than 1/10 of 1% of realtors who specialize in, or even not that you have to do all new construction, but really, really make a niche out of it and want to go after it as part of a serious part of your business. And it's probably far less than that, to be honest. You know, it may be more like, you know, 1/50th of 1%. But if you think 1/10 of 1%, that's 1 in every 1,000. 1 in 1,000. Now, that doesn't mean that this realtor, that realtor, and 1,000 other realtors have one new construction listing, but the people who are going after it, less than 1 in 1,000. Here's an opportunity where you can step into this space and begin to learn and begin to differentiate and begin to provide more value, and immediately or very quickly your competition starts falling away. You don't have all of a sudden 15,000 competitors. You got about 20 or 10, because nobody else is really providing that level of quality and value that you can do. So you know, last couple things I want to and then I'll wrap up here. Builders want to work with good quality realtors who understand new construction, who understand their business. Okay, and a lot of realtors will say, well, that's just not true, because I talked to a builder, I've talked to 5 builders, and they, you know, they'd rather do away with realtors. And, you know, I know there's, you know, a lot of times there's a bad mojo between builders and realtors. Well, that's from their standpoint. What they're seeing as realtors, from us as realtors, is everybody's doing basically the same thing. And there's very few people who are providing any kind of value that they're looking for. Does it mean work harder? In some cases. It generally, though, means working smarter. Here's what it doesn't mean, okay? In order to specialize in new construction, it does not mean that you need to be a 10-year tenured realtor. I've seen many realtors who step into that space who have little or no experience. They're brand new, but they're focused, and they step in there and they start to get wins for themselves. And you can too. So it's not about tenure. It's not about having a big team. It's not about having a big marketing budget. And you don't even have to be married to the builder, although that could help, all right? But you don't have to be, and you don't need to know how to build a house. Okay, what you do have to do is you have to be focused, you have to be ready to learn, and you have to be committed. Okay, so how do you learn this stuff? And bottom line is, there's this enormous opportunity. How do we begin to specialize and get some focus around it? Well, I highly recommend that instead of going and shooting for just, trying to get a transaction, trying to get a listing on your first call, which is absolutely not the right way to do it. The approach that you want to take is you want to learn. Okay, you are out there initially to learn. So you're going to start meeting with builders and meeting with developers, and I especially recommend going and meeting with small builders and mid-sized builders and mid-sized developers as well, small and mid-sized developers. And you're going to interview them, and there's really 4 different types of interviews you can do. Now, we can't get into all those right now, but there's one in particular that I really, really think that you should do. And so I really want to highly recommend it. And that is to interview the builders, interview the developers about you, about their perception of your role or the realtor role in general. And there's like 8 or 10 questions that you can ask. Now, if you want those 8 or 10 questions, I think there's 10 questions, reach out to me. I'll type them up and we'll set it up to where you can download those and you'll have that cheat sheet that you can walk through. But there's 2 of them in particular. Probably the last 2 questions that you're going to ask. And I think that you do this at least 10 times. Are you going to get it done with this week? Probably not, but you need to commit to do it. And so there's 2 really, really fundamentally important questions that you're going to ask. And one of them is the question that I asked earlier. And that is to ask the builders, hey, John, how many realtors would you say in our market actually are knowledgeable and passionate about new construction? How many people would you say really truly specialize? Don't try to feed them the answer, just listen and write it down. And then the final question that you want to ask is this. Hey, John, let me ask you this. If you were going to partner with a realtor, if there was somebody that you really genuinely wanted to partner with to market your homes, what would that realtor look like? What would they have in their experience that would make them be somebody that you would consider marketing with to sell more of your homes? And then just shut up and listen and take notes. Listen, guys, it's been a long video already, and but I want to tell you something. There is an enormous opportunity. If there wasn't, I wouldn't be spending so much time trying to share this with you guys. So you absolutely deserve, and the buyers do too. They deserve to have a fiduciary, somebody who is a trusted guide that they have confidence in that can walk them through the new construction process. So I would love to help you out with that. Would love for you to check it out and learn how to be a new construction specialist, because it can absolutely, absolutely change your career. I'll tell you one of the interesting things. I just had this yesterday. A builder told me, what you guys are teaching, nobody else is teaching. And I don't know if that's the case. I'm not saying that we know everything. We don't. We're learning a lot. But we are seeing a lot of realtors that are grabbing a hold of these concepts and they're going out and just exploding their business. And I want that for you too. So if there's any way we can help, let me know. Now, we do have a free download. If you haven't seen this yet, there's a new ebook that we just released that it goes through all 7 of these ways that it's broken. I think it's called the 7 top ways that new construction is broken for buyers. And you can find that at newhomenicheblueprint.com. And I would love for you to download that and see if you can get some value out of it. But newhomenicheblueprint.com. Hey, my name is Ron Williams. I'm the founder and the CEO of a web platform for realtors, for new construction buyers, for builders, developers, called Hoodle. It's at hoodle.com. And would love for you to check that out as well. But thanks for listening to the video. I hope you got some value out of it. And next week, be watching for video number 4. And God bless. Hope you guys have a great evening. Bye.